previous video, I showed you how to use cerium oxide powder to get rid of surface scuffs from this transparent display window. But some people have written me and asked, how do you get rid of deep gouges? Because sometimes these scratches are so deep that cerium powder just doesn't take it away. So today I'm going to show you how to remove deep scratches. And I'm going to do that using Quick's acrylic scratch remover. So what I'm going to do is take this screwdriver and I'm going to scratch up the face of this window. As you can see, I'm just destroying that, and I'm going to push kind of hard so I get deep scratches. Now, I haven't seen too many Panabox or DR60s that look that bad, but if yours has a lot of deep scratches in it, let's show you how to get rid of those. Step number one is to remove the front cover, and then you want to turn it over and you want to remove anything like the speaker or the buttons or the button up here, just anything you don't want to get dirty or wet. And the next step is you're going to want to tape off everything but this clear display window. And I like to use frog tape. The reason I like frog tape is it keeps moisture out. It locks moisture when it hits the edge of the tape, and it locks it in there so moisture doesn't seep over into your case. On top of the frog tape, I like to use a thick, clear packing tape. And the purpose of this is durability. That frog tape and masking tape, things like that, will fray the more you rub. But this stuff's really strong and it creates a nice protection surface while you're buffing. So I'm going to tape this up and I'll show you what it should look like after you're done. As you can see, I've finished taping. I've got that green frog tape on first, and over top of that I put the clear, thick packing tape on top as a protective barrier. And again, that keeps that frog tape, that green frog tape, from fraying away when I buff. And it also protects any of the paint around this display window to make sure that I don't buff away any of that silver paint. So the next step is I'm going to reach into that Quick's acrylic scratch remover kit. I'm going to pull out the 1500 grit sandpaper, and with some water, I'm going to put some water on that face, and I'm just going to start sanding that and trying to buff out any scratches that I can. Now, when I'm done that, I'm going to clean it off. I'm going to pull out the 100% cotton cloth that they give you and the tube full of the cream, and I'm going to start polishing that surface. And for deep scratches, they recommend I do this a few times. So let me go through those steps with you now. I've got my gloves on and I've got my 1500 grit sandpaper. You can see those deep scratches as I hold this display face in the light. And it's pretty deep and there's a lot of scratches. So I'm actually going to buff this out with the sandpaper for quite some time. So what I want to do is dip this in the water, and I just want to start buffing it out. So I'm going to do this for probably 10 minutes. I'm going to clean it off. I'm going to show you if we see any difference. All right, well, believe it or not, I've only been buffing this out with the 1500 grit for about 4 minutes, and it seems to have already taken those scratches out. Now, the acrylic is hazy, and I'm assuming that the cream, when I apply it, is going to bring back the luster and allow me to see through this acrylic. But I'm actually quite amazed at what that sandpaper has already done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a deeper scratch in here. I'm really going to press on this thing, and I'm using a lot of pressure, and that has got a very deep gouge in it right now. So this would be absolutely the worst case scenario. So can that cream and can the sanding here take that big deep gouge out? We'll see. Again, I'm already impressed with what the 1500 did, but will the 1500 take out that gouge? Let's see. I continued sanding for about another 5 or 6 minutes, and you can see that clear window is a little bit hazy right now. But that deep scratch that I made is still there, but it's not as deep as it was. So I think at this point, what I'm going to do is take that 100% cotton cloth and this cream, and I'm just going to start rubbing it onto the surface. And I'm going to do this repeatedly because that's a pretty deep gouge, and I'll show you the results. Here I am applying the cream to the cloth. Just a white cream. And I'm going to start rubbing it into the display window. As you can see, it's just sitting on the top there. I'm just going to rub for a couple of minutes and then let's check it out. So I rubbed the cream in for about 2 or 3 minutes, and as you can see, that scratch is still there, but they say you've got to do this a number of times, and you've got to use a lot of pressure when you're buffing it out. So let's try this again and see if that scratch disappears even more. I spent about another 10 minutes sanding that gouge out, and it did a pretty good job. I can see a very faint line, but most of it's gone. So I'm going to apply some more of that cream and we'll see if we can restore this back to its original look. Okay, so I spent about 5 minutes polishing that cream on the clear display window, and I took off the tape and I washed it up, and I want to show you the results. It's quite amazing. So remember all those scratches and that super deep scratch? They're almost all gone. Now you can see a little bit of that really deep gouge, and that just tells me I could have spent maybe another 5 minutes or so sanding that scratch out. But I highly doubt you're ever going to get a gouge that deep, so that tells me this system works. So again, I highly recommend this if you've got a display screen that's got some really bad scratches. It's called Quicks Acrylic Scratch Remover, and it really works.